This week on Memories Not Included, we open up a brand new season with a new component video. And we welcome to the show James Coleman. All right, welcome to an all new season of Memories Not Included. Now, this season is going to differ than previous seasons because we're adding the video element. And that way, it's probably just a big braggadocious way that I can sit in front of all my toys and feel really cool about that. But even more so, it allows me when we have guests on, so you guys can kind of put names with faces because that's such a cool thing. Now, I had to kick off the season with somebody who is, let's see, mildly controversial, very comfortable in his own skin, um, decided to start a new collector nerd group in a sea of really established groups and really ballsy move it into a way. It's one of the biggest groups around now that also has a Thunderdome component that literally is second to none. So, I mean, I would be remiss to waste any more time and not introduce James Coleman to the show.
Thank you so much, Mark. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate being here again.
Yes. Welcome, James Coleman. Everybody, all right, here we go. We had to have some celebration there. I mean, it's you and I met during a trade, or no, during a buy. I was brokering a large collection for a group of people I met up in Williamsburg, Virginia, and you saw it and jumped into this. Started off with one piece, two piece, three, and then it ended up with a huge assortment of stuff. And we were kind of in an adversarial role at the time because, of course, as a buyer, you want to get the best deal. And as a seller, and especially as a broker, I'm trying to make sure that the people I'm representing get the best deal. And it just kind of built a life of its own and became a very long friendship.
Absolutely, man. You see that ATST right there?
Mm-hmm.
Boom. That was from that actual buy years ago. Still love that piece. Wouldn't get rid of that piece ever. Just one of my pieces.
Over here, I still have a couple of pieces from that. That's where I ended up with my very first and only pop-up R2.
Yeah.
Pieces like that, that's where that came from. And they stay there forever because there's stories attached to those. And you kind of always want to have, like, especially with this stuff back here, I love to have stories, not just the collectible.
Right. Absolutely, man.
And you're wheeling and dealing constantly. You're looking at big lots all the time. And then you decided, all right, I'm a member of all these other pages. I'm going to start my own. Like, what was the thought process that brought you to say, I'm going to start my own whole new group in this, like we said earlier, this ocean of groups?
Well, so yeah, there's a number of different things behind that. And there's a lot of controversy and I think misnomers as to why Vintage Alliance was created. And it creates a false competition among the groups. I talk to Michael Havens and Dennis Hall all the time and a myriad of other people, and Gaz Bond and Terry Kai, who also run groups. I want all the groups to mesh, hence the name Vintage Alliance. I want us to be aligned. Right. I allow advertising for Imperial Commissary and other groups on Vintage Alliance on the regular. In fact, I more than support it. I recommend it. I ask for it. I think it's great. I think sharing is caring, right?
Absolutely.
But yeah, I had Vintage Alliance is really a beta test.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beta test for something much bigger that's under wraps right now. I don't want to I can't get into full detail because of NDAs and things of that sort. But I'm so excited about this venture. It's, I believe, going to galvanize all the groups to in a way that everybody really wants and everybody really needs, actually.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because there's cross communication all the time. And most people like me, like you, we're members of all the groups. And there's all kinds of things like cross posting and,
Yeah.
hey, I saw this over here and I'll let you know that it's over here. When you talk about melding these groups together, and it's called Vintage Alliance, and you're talking about doing something that even further kind of brings them all together, that is something of epic proportions that warrants something like an NDA.
It really does. And by no means am I looking to supersede groups or anything of that sort. We'll need groups. They're great. They're fun. They're enjoyable. I do think though that we kind of need a one-stop shop, and an area where it's competition free, really. I think competition is good. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing.
Absolutely.
Because we keep stacking, we keep getting better, and we look at what each other are doing. But Vintage Alliance was a beta test to see, hey, can we galvanize a group and do something as good as the other groups, if not, but different in our own way. We wanted a little bit more. We just wanted some changes, and we wanted to present a group in a different manner. We wanted to have a lot of fun, and maintain the fun and maintain the good relationships, across the board.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, we're after collectibles. We're after nostalgia. I've called Star Wars nostalgia for years. We're buying nostalgia. That's what we're buying.
Mm-hmm.
And that should be a very peaceful and almost reminiscent of our childhood. It shouldn't be aggressive or upsetting or anything of that nature. It should be very, very just easy breezy. We get what we want. We pay for what we want. But then there is the monetary value, and I think that's where the stress comes from for people. If they overpay, if they underpay, if they don't get what they paid for, that's what people are concerned about, and that's where a lot of the stress comes from. Sometimes people get political, and I'm like, guys, this is the Star Wars realm. No matter whether you're right or left, what does it matter? We're here for Star Wars, right? It's like if you're at church or a band show. Let's say you're watching Muse live, right? And everybody there is going to be different. They're going to have different beliefs, different ideas, different ideologies, different political sides. What you're there for is Muse, and you all agree Muse is rad, right? The band Muse,
right?
Or church. I love this church. That's why I'm here. It doesn't matter what our differences are, and I feel like Star Wars collecting is a pseudo church, and we all do different things, and some people don't like what so-and-so does, and some people like what so-and-so does, and some people think so-and-so is an expert and this guy's an expert, right? And that can be a matter of presentation, or they are an expert, but at the end of the day, we should be having fun, because this isn't our day job. This isn't our career. This is a hobby that fulfills us in a way that I think we all need. I think it's therapeutic in a way. Music for me is therapy. Collecting Star Wars is therapy, man.
Absolutely.
Yes, and I love selling just as much as I do collecting. I love it just as much as I do collecting. And likewise, when I bought that lot off of you, that's the only piece I kept. I should have kept it all, because it would have been worth probably 10 times the amount now, right?
Absolutely, yeah. But
I wanted to get a few free pieces, and I was trying to figure things out. I kept a bunch of stormtroopers and royal guards. I kept your army. But we constantly cycle through stuff either way. And there is a schism between collectors and sellers, right? A collector will say, you're a seller, but sellers collect too. 99% of them.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you would hope so.
And 99% of collectors sell as well. It's
some of us. It's just to feed the ability to get more.
And anytime a collector says, well, you're a seller. I'm like, interesting. I just saw you have a live auction, or
Right.
I just saw you post items for sale. Well, I'm doing it to because I had extra. That's what it is. That's the case for everybody. And
Well, so,
the Star Wars realm needs active sellers, because if we didn't have active sellers, it would make the hunts like dang near impossible, man. It's already tough. It's already tough.
well, and I think, and that's a good segue, because it kind of brings us to something you and I have talked about, and I know I've talked about with a bunch of people, is the grading phenomenon. Like, grading has now become a thing, and we've seen one company really kind of overall be the dark empire behind it all, and then you've had another one that came up and has risen really, really well, and then you have some that have tried and they've either come by the wayside, or they stay to regional parts of the world. But I think grading has made the biggest monumental shift in collecting than anything, because your average collector who could go out and maybe afford a loose figure, doesn't have a ton of money, can't do like what some of these guys do, that if they see it, they can spend any amount of money. They just wanted to have some figures for the nostalgia, for the memories, for whatever it is. But now grading comes into play, and you take a figure that might have been $100, and you now grade him, and now he's $400, and now that collector is completely out of the loop. So that smaller, memory-fueled, nostalgia-fueled collector is almost being wiped out, unless they find something in an attic or garage. And grading companies are inundated with product to where they're 8, 9, 12 months behind even getting the product back out on the market. So now figures are out of circulation for a year. And even if you saw two, say, it's all about grade. So say you saw two 85s side by side, there's going to be differences.
For sure.
One, because it's a person. It's a human being looking at it. And, at the end of the day, this 85 to this person versus this 85 to this person at the same company could be totally different expectation. But then if you take, and you hear the argument all the time, AFA and CAS are really your two leading ones right now.
Yeah.
You'll still have people that'll say an 85 from AFA is worth more than an 85 from CAS.
Yeah, they do.
And to me, I think that's hard to say that when CAS has done very well making a name for itself. I've used CAS more than once. That's Collectors Archive Services, and you can find them, of course, online and on social media. They do a lot of great social media work. So if you haven't followed Collectors Archive Services on social media, you should. It's fun. But grading is changing things. Like, I have been a huge proponent of loose because that's how I had it as a kid.
Yeah.
But now, for certain things, one, for authenticity, because the freaking, for lack of a better way to put it, forgers are getting better.
Yeah.
But then also, for preservation and looks and things like that.
Yeah.
So, and I know you do a lot with grading.
It also helps with insurance purposes. So
it does.
When you insure it, you have the serial number, you have the grade. It's much easier to evaluate something coming from an insurance perspective than, a loose figure.
That's right. So where do you sit? Like, I think this is the single largest fundamental, even more than the internet getting involved.
Yeah.
When the internet got back in eBay back in the day, that changed your access to things. But I think grading has fundamentally shifted who can collect to a point.
Yeah. So, man, we talked about this. We touched on this a couple of years ago in one of your podcasts, and at that time I was more like, I don't like grading at all. I don't like it at all. However, I've become more and more influenced. I like how CAS displays ships. I'm right now grading, and this is a secret, but I'll reveal this. I'm grading my Imperial shuttle unapplied stickers. It's
good,
massive, dude. I mean, and it's a pretty penny, But dude,
Yeah.
I just think it looks sweet. Michael Havens has one, and ever since I saw that, I'm like, bro, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And Michael Havens, like he has it as a centerpiece, and you're like, yeah. So
Yep.
he really triggered that idea for me to get the shuttle graded, and I was dinkering for a while, and now my buddy and I are in on. He has one, and I have one, and we're waiting to get it back, and it's like, I'm so excited. It's going to change my whole display, and it's going to change up everything for me. So this year is I'm going to even downsize my collection a little bit probably, and focus on grading. And I'll put the funds that I downsize with into grading, because one, yes, it does preserve it. It does hurt. I love displays and dioramas. So I will keep a separate, section for displays and dioramas. But yeah, dude, it really, it does increase the value. It just does, no matter what. It's more valuable. But I was talking to my little brother about it, and he was checking out my collection, and he's like, "Oh, you have some graded stuff. I thought you didn't like graded." And I was like, "No, man, actually, look, sometimes we got to change." Right. And I said, there's a couple of concerns with grades. They used to, and I told him this, they used to tape the weapon on the side. Now they have an encasing for the weapon, right? An acrylic encasing, which is way better. I don't know how much better you can get than that for the display, but there might be another generation after that where we have a new method of grading, a new version of grading, where it makes the old grade obsolete. The taped weapon is obsolete. People don't really want to buy those pieces because it's a taped weapon to the side, right?
Oh yeah, they're talking about sending them back for recasing now.
Yeah, exactly. I have a Takara Vader right now, and I have a very good connection with AFA, and I sent it direct to them. And I don't want to release the name or anything of that nature, just because I don't want him to get inundated. But very nice guy. And I have a Takara Vader, and I'm like, I want this regraded, please. It's like a 75, but it is an 80. Like you said earlier, like you're gonna have differences.
Yep.
And sometimes you need to communicate with them. Hey, this is why I believe it's an 80. I don't believe it's a 75. There's no way. I saw another 75 that was beat, to death, and mine is beautiful. I have like two little dings in the bubble, right? And I'm like, I get that, but no, I think it was harshly graded. So I'm actually sending that back. $50 there, $50 back. It's going to cost me $200 to grade it. So it's I'm putting another $300 into a $6,000 piece, right? So I am investing in my piece, and I paid well for this piece. For some reason, I fell in love with the Takara Vader, and I like to, I hone in on things, and I just don't stop until I get that thing. So I found my Takara Vader. It's now my, Takara Grail.
And that's like me. I really started honing in on these variants of Farm Boy Luke, and it really hit home with me when I got insanely lucky on a Facebook Marketplace lot that included an orange-haired Luke, which is, I mean, I didn't think I was ever going to touch one because they're just not around. Everybody talks about the vinyl cape Jawa being the most difficult figure, but you honestly, if you want to buy one and you have the cash, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
The orange-haired Luke is nowhere. And the one I ended up getting, it was funny. I got an orange-haired Luke Farm Boy and the orange-haired Bespin in the same crazy lot from a guy in New Jersey that I sent a friend of mine from Pennsylvania to drive and go get because he wouldn't ship it. And this thing is about as mint as you're going to get.
Sweet.
So here comes the grading thing. What do? For one, I want to grade it to protect it because, I mean, for hell, man, it's an orange-haired Luke, which loose, I think the last one went for over $2,000.
Yeah.
And it probably would have went higher, but the guy shut the deal down soon.
Yeah.
Like, I think it would have gone higher than that.
Yeah.
So, grading now becomes this thing that changes because, you get an orange-haired Luke graded and it comes back an 80 or an 85. You're talking thousands of dollars
Yeah.
for this one figure that did not get circulated very much. So, am I going to go grade all of my first 12? No, I'm not going to do that. Those are my fun. That's my first 12. I love them. Am I going to look at grading something like the orange hair Luke or these other really high dollar figures? Probably.
Yeah. No, I support it. I think AFA, CAS, I think they're making a lot of money, but they're doing a good service. It's a great and smart service. It really is. And it benefits long-term collectors. And it protects, man, you got to call it an investment. It is an investment no matter what. It's an investment in nostalgia, and it's a monetary investment. Anything that you buy, you want it to appreciate. And luckily, this appreciates better than our cars that we buy, right? So,
absolutely.
We go and we wash our cars and wax our cars. We should take care of our Star Wars pieces very well, because these are NFTs. These are real life NFTs. These are real life non-fungible tokens. I can't go get this Boba Fett right here in my backdrop. I can't go get that today. Clear bubble, unpunched Jedi. I can go find Boba Fett's graded 80, 75, but yellow and punched. But I can't find that. I can't find my Han 65C. I don't know if you know that I was looking for a Han 65C for 3 years.
I remember. I remember the post about it.
I had people offering me Han 65Cs for like $4,000. They realized, this James is a seller, so we're gonna take him, and I'm like, yeah, dude. How about $3,000? I even offered and I would have been upside down. I'll be upside down probably for the next decade, but I want that piece. That's part of my collection. And since I do sell enough, I'm like, yeah, I can give this guy an exorbitant amount of funds for it. But anyway, the deal didn't come to fruition, unfortunately. But I eventually found one through Vintage Alliance, and that's what I love about the group. Sorry.
That's where I found ones that I'm hunting. I've made a great trade. I posted a picture today because I made a trade with Robert Joy, a really fantastic trade because I have those 12 backs. And I just wanted to trade with the 12 backs because it's fun and it builds things. So I make a trade with Robert Joy, who's in Canada.
Yeah.
And he sends me, a couple of graded figures and stuff like that. The hilarity of this kind of thing is that, and I'm getting a little off track and we'll get back on it in a second. But one of the funniest things I've ever seen was how he packed it. Because of course it's coming from Canada, to the US, and shipping right now is really wonky.
Yeah.
So he of course double boxes everything because that's, especially when you're going distance you want to do. But he has them inside a box, inside packing, inside another box, inside packing, then inside a star case. Well, inside the star case, he has the A-Wing pilot, which is a loose complete, in a baggie, inside a half-used toilet paper roll.
What?
This is the greatest, and I post a picture on Vintage Alliance because that's the funniest packing I've ever seen. I had to give Robert a shout out for that because, dude, he goes, and his comment was, if it was soft enough for your butt, it's soft enough to ship. And I'm like, you're right. You win, man. You win the packing award.
Yeah.
But back on the
me though, in that situation, I'm like, wait, that toilet paper roll was next to his toilet for the past however long. And I'm like, I'm really OCD about things, and I'm like, oh. How does it smell? Smell fine?
It was all good. It was fresh.
It smells like trees or pine, one of the gray pine.
Yeah. Cooper. But so here we go. We're sitting at graded figures.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting to see that these are really the first two I have.
Yeah.
I thought about sending the 12 backs in. We all had a conversation about the 12 backs I have. But more than likely, I'm going to end up making another large trade and getting things that I want and not go that route. But to your point, I will. Now, you brought up a really good point about grading, and is that if you want to make that transition, that your collection, you're protecting your investment, you're getting them in these museum quality boxes. I think CAS has done some remarkable things when it comes to the carded figures to protect the bubble. That new setup they're using is fantastic. But I think that you made a good point that a lot of people are having to make. A lot of us have these huge displays of stuff, right? When you go graded, you're having to reduce volume, reduce quantity for increased quality.
Yep.
So now where we all had 11 different DTOF and every other kind of case in the book,
Yep.
we now may only have one or two because we're literally stacking it like a bank vault.
Yep.
And I think that you're going to see collections change.
Yep. I agree. You know, I started, I'm going big on grading, and I know that it's going to take a while. But I started with my shuttle first. My shuttle is my first thing, and then I'm going to go for my last 17 and other things. My last 17 are just impeccable, and you know, it'd be cool to encase them all in one wall-mounted. It would be really sweet. But anyway, yeah, I want to go big first, so that way everything else is kind of minuscule. It's peanuts from there. You know, one thing I've seen, everybody goes for an 80-85, right? They have to get the 80. They have to get the 85. I have a grade 90 CAS Imperial Gunner. I'm a gunner focus. But I'm even going to downsize my gunner collection probably this year, maybe next year. But they go for the 80, and I've talked to a lot of sellers about this, and this is really actually something that I think collectors and sellers and everybody kind of needs to wake up to. The 75 grade, the 70 grade, I mean, depending on what it is, really, people really diminish its value because of those 5 points. There's an OCD in the community, and I understand it. I have it too. There's an OCD on the 80 and 85, and let's say I have an Imperial Gunner that's grade 75. He will not sell graded. He'll sell less graded than a loose 75. Does that make sense? So I know a lot of sellers that actually crack it open, which is really sad because somebody spent the time and money and energy and effort to grade that piece, hundreds of dollars, right? For a loose figure, hundreds of dollars and time. And they have to crack it open because they can't sell the item because people say, 75, I don't want that crap, you know? And it's like, guys, actually, we have a lot of 75s. We have a lot of 70s. We just don't know it if you don't have everything graded. But I mean, again, I do understand the OCD. I have the OCD. I'm like, if I see a 75 gunner, I'm like, ugh. But if it's a 75 gunner with a clear bubble mock, okay. You know, that's hard to find, but
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just need to appreciate the fact that the piece is still graded, and a 75 is really not that much far off from a grade 80. But I do think collectors are going toward quality. A lot of collectors really want high quality, and Vintage Alliance, all of our members, man, they're high quality guys. And they're like, you know, they'll pay good money for a quality piece because they know how difficult it is to find. They don't.
It is, and I think I've seen conversations get had regularly about just that, about this 75 thing. I would send this in, but if it's not going to grade an 80 or above, I almost don't even want it encased.
Right.
I'd almost want to just sit back loose, didn't come back an 80 or above, and You're exactly right. The fact that a piece comes back a 75, it is now almost guaranteed that it's worth less than a loose complete figure, that has no guarantee of coming back any higher than that 75.
Yeah.
So, you know, I had a conversation. We talked about this. I had a conversation the other day with selling, you know, trading these mocks has been an adventure because they're not graded.
Yeah.
I've sent 1,000 pictures to everybody. We actually talked about it in our admin group. Like, these are beautiful mocks. They are. They have, each one has its own unique challenge, but I think you're going to have anything. These are the original 12 figures ever put out. But I've watched people devalue because they're not graded. But at somewhere in the conversation, they led on, they're going to send it in to get graded. Well, if you think it's gradable to get, then I'd be very cautious how much you downplay this if you think you want to grade with somebody. So I thought about going the route of paying the extra money to expedite, to have these things graded. But it's like you said, because you don't know, and this could happen with a loose figure, because you don't know what it's going to come back, you have to add in the $200+ that it's going to cost to grade it to whatever it could come back as. Yeah. And if it comes back as anything really less than an 80, you're in a hole big time for paying expedited.
Yeah.
Although right now expedited is the only is realistically the only way to get it back in less than a year.
I know. Well, you know what I would do in your situation, I saw your pieces. I would focus specifically probably on like a Vader, a Luke, a Leia, an R2. Probably wouldn't do the C-3PO, just not based upon condition, but C-3PO, Tusken Raider, Jawa. You don't see that you'll get your money back if you're looking to capture your funds and not be in a deficit and you're trading for other pieces. I would focus on a Vader, an R2, a Luke. The
Stormtrooper is always a good one.
Yeah, Stormtrooper is a good one. I sold a 12A. I missed that 12A that I had. I mean, it was employee owned. I sold them for $1,000 ungraded, but I would say 85 all day long, but you never know if he'd come back 80, but for sure, man. I mean, 80 to 85. And I really severely undervalued him at the time. Probably could have got 2 for him at the time. But that guy got a great deal. And guess what? I bought him in a lot. I got a big lot. And I was excited. And I don't regret it because he's off and he's happy. Maybe he resold it. I don't know. And that doesn't bother me. Another thing, I don't get bothered at all when I see people resell items. I sell them. If I gave them a good deal and they resell it, I want them to be profitable because I'll feel bad if they're not. I'll be like, dang, because they'll be like, man, I paid James too much, if they don't. But oftentimes they are profitable. I mean, 9 times out of 10, I see people that are profitable. And I think the reason why they may not be profitable is because they're not a bona fide seller. They're not a known seller, right? Not that they're not trusted. They could be very trusted in the community and well known by certain people. But as a seller, you become more known. People know that you ship well. They know that you pack well. They know that you pack on and ship on time. They know that the item's authentic. They know that, they feel good about it, like at least to a degree.
It's important. I know that especially when I do things, I do a lot of trading because I enjoy it. There's great stories that come out of it. I add pieces to keepers to my collection, things like that. But that's where that really bona fide person comes into play because you're making a huge risk. There's zero protection on either side. I mean, you can ship with insurance and all that jazz, but that's really for whoever's getting it. But there is a huge, huge risk when it comes to trading, and that's why these groups are so critical. That's why these groups, saying, hey, I vouch for so-and-so, I've made great trade.
Yeah.
I mean, that becomes critical. And that's why groups like Vintage Alliance become such a key component in moving our collecting world forward, and the education, talking about this. Hey, I have this figure. I want to get into grading. You can reach out in any of the groups really to even like from CAS, Ross Barr. I talk to Ross Barr regularly. He's great about answering questions about CAS. That's why, it's one of the things about these groups. It's not a Facebook marketplace. It is a community of like-minded people that are talking, learning. Hey, I just got this Holy Grail piece. I can't wait to show people. You show the group and the whole group celebrates it.
Right.
And if you get somebody who's going to be, for lack of a way to put it, a dick, they get booted.
Yep.
If you somebody that does a dirty deal on somebody, they get booted.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the beauties to what goes on here. And one of the reasons, of course, when Vintage Alliance came along, I was absolutely 100% on board. Plus, it's yours.
Yeah.
So, of course, I'll be on board. But I think that really just shows where things are going to change.
I do. I agree. 90% of Vintage Alliance was actually customers that I had already worked with. And I realized, my gosh, I've worked with so many people. And so I just went through messaging all those people, and I let them know, hey, I started a group, guys. I'm really excited. I'd already built trust, with 99% of them. And so the group just happened really fast. And again, getting back to it, it was, I have a plan A and a plan B. Really, Vintage Alliance was plan B headed toward plan A. And I wanted to test out how much work it entails, moderating. And it's a lot, man. I'm talking to people all the time. People ask me to verify, and I'm like, look, I'm not the end all be all, but I'll give you my opinion. And if I'm iffy, I'll recommend somebody else as well. I will, I just wanted to see how Vintage Alliance would run. And I think it's been super smooth. And we have such great members that are, they're serious buyers. I don't have issues with people that pay. I don't have issues with, emotional issues with the individuals. It's pretty drama free, which is amazing. We cut out drama, and if there is drama, we're like, hey, dude, go to the Thunderdome. That's where our drama goes. It's like, if you're in an argument with your wife and you have your kids in the kitchen, you're like, go to the closet and let's really argue there, right? It's not in front of the family and it doesn't bug everybody else, doesn't bug our kids. Let's go talk in the closet. So that way, if we're upset, we can talk about it. And that's kind of what the Thunderdome is. I really like the Thunderdome. I think it's been beneficial. I think some people think it's like a crap talk. And some people are like, I don't want anything to do with the Thunderdome because they think it's just a bunch of crap talking. And it really isn't. It's actually very similar to the Bounty Hunter Forum, where we look out for each other and we say, we question things. Sometimes there's that's where you can get political if you want, and whatever, go there and say you're a lefty or a righty, and everybody can, express their opinions. And for me, I don't really care, if you're left or right. If you're a cool dude, you're a cool dude. It's just, it is what it is. But yeah, Vintage Alliance, it just happened faster than I thought. It's grew bigger than I thought it was going to grow, which I'm happy with. And that's what triggered, okay, it's time to start plan A. And that's what's in works right now. And I think that individuals are going to be blown away. I think that the collector community as a whole has a real awesome opportunity coming up that they're totally unaware of. And I think it will galvanize the entire world, not just United States and Europe. They have their separate groups. I think it has an opportunity to galvanize the entire world in collectors and collectibles.
I think it does. And guys, if you haven't, if you're a member of trading groups or collector groups and things like that, the beautiful thing is Vintage Alliance covers the whole gambit. It's not just Star Wars, it's vintage, it's an alliance of people. So look them up on Facebook at Vintage Alliance. Join the group, because if you're looking for anything or just enjoy the nostalgia, the memories that are attached to this, you're going to see great stories, you're going to see amazing products, and you're going to have a safe place to be able to do this at. James, where else can anybody find you that wants to connect with you?
Goodness gracious. They can find me right on Vintage Alliance. I do a lot of music licensing. I don't do a whole lot of YouTube stuff. I do podcasts fairly often. So, you could probably find various guys' podcasts, and I'll be in one of those guys' podcasts. I really enjoy talking about Star Wars and discussing some of those critical items that are important to all of us, and the controversies and things of that nature. But I think the biggest thing is, man, we just need to keep having fun doing what we're doing and stay in our lane. Staying in our own lane is super important. When we get out of our lane, and I've gotten out of my lane before, and I learned the hard way. I got out of my lane, and I was like, whoa, that wasn't fun. I just need to stay in my lane. One thing too about
Right.
some of the other groups is, there isn't this grandiose competition between me and Michael Havens, or Dennis Hall, or any. I love Dennis, actually, and I love Michael. Michael created the IC guys, and that con is huge and it's important. And I fully expect even Vintage Alliance members to support IC and support Echo and support even Dark Side, and support all the groups. And there's a lot of new groups coming up, but I really think there's really three key United States groups, which are Deal or No Deal, IC, and Vintage Alliance. I think those are the three key, and I think those are going to stay at the top. I welcome all kinds of people. I mean, we have 8 mods from all over the place, and we talk crap to each other, and we chat all the time, and we have a really good time chatting with each other.
We do.
That's what it's about, and we really are able to monitor it. And what's coming up next, we're going to be able to monitor more than just what Vintage Alliance is, and I think it's going to present something that is, and I hope I'm not hyping it up too much, but I'm really excited. I'm actually putting capital into it, quite a bit of capital into it, and time, and it's very important to me, and I'm just really amped. But yeah, dude, and I don't know. I don't have anything else to say there.
No, that's good, guys. And so again, on Facebook, look up Vintage Alliance. James Coleman is, of course, the person who originated its brainchild, and of course, you'll see things evolve from there. So if you want to keep track on what's going on, join the page, and then of course you can follow Memories Not Included on both Facebook and Instagram. We're going to post pictures of other people's lots, things that I have in the collection, clips from the different shows, and you never know what else might show up on that social media. So check out Memories Not Included. James, it's been fantastic having you on today.
Thank you, my man.
And guys, if you have questions about things like grading, reach out to somebody who has graded figures. Talk to them about it. Me personally, I am a big fan of CAS. Ross Barr has been great. You can find them under collectorarchiveservices.com. But guys, it's been a great show, and I'm looking forward to an amazing new season with video and with audio and with everything that's going on. And who better to start it with than Mr. James Coleman? Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Mark.